Hello everyone, my name is Naguura and today I'm going to be talking about the new 10.1 set bonuses that they announced, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about the other changes that Moonkin is going to be getting, how the set feels in combination. I'm going to show you a little bit of the rotation that we're going to be playing on PTR that's available to play right now. You can hop onto it as well and test out the new set if you want to. Now, let's talk about the set. First of all, I think it's really good that they announced all of the sets already, because we're going to have raid testing soon and we can actually test the raid bosses with the set already there on the PTR, which is something that we didn't always manage to do, so I'm glad they did that. Then I'll show you the blue post here. So they did say, class of design, set armor bonuses in season 1 had relatively low impact on gameplay and rotations because we wanted to give the new talent system room to shine. In Embers of Neltharion, set bonus can have more impact on your resources, cooldowns, and talents. Some bonuses are enhanced by playing certain talents, and some built on popular talents in the middle section of trees. Throughout these designs, we intend for players to feel able to play the overall build or strategy they prefer. I think what they're saying here does make sense in theory, right? It definitely makes sense that we had a new talent system come out, and the first tier set shouldn't necessarily be impacting your rotation that much, so you can get a feeling for your new talents and everything and your rotation with those new talents. And now they want the second set that we have to be a little bit more impactful and actually change your cooldowns a bit, the talent choices, your resources, and so on. Now I do want to say though that for Moonkin it's the opposite, which is also okay though. So basically the first set bonus that we have, the current one, that one impacts our rotation quite a bit. So what they're saying here is not true for Moonkin, but now the second set that they added actually does not impact our rotation or our talent choice. Maybe they intended the first set bonus to not be so impactful, and it ended up being impactful after all, and then decided, you know what, we're gonna do the second set bonus to be less impactful, which in my opinion is okay, because as I said, our first set bonus was already so impactful, so it's good to have a set bonus that just kind of lets us get used to our basic talents, to our baseline rotation, without the set bonus completely changing what we're doing, okay? All right, so this is the balance bonus. 2 set is Sunfire, radius increased by 2 yards. It's actually 3 yards, so this blue post has the number wrong. Which is nice, quality of life change, you know, and then plus, I do wish this was like a baseline thing, because the fact that Sunfire is a smaller range is a bit awkward. Like, the amount of times you do an plus pool and you think they're all in the Sunfire range and it's Sunfire, and then this one mob out there is not getting the Sunfire on it, and then you have to press it again. When our ramp time is already so long, it feels a bit bad. But it's okay, we're gonna have a whole tier of Sunfire being 3 yards bigger, so it's gonna be nice. Then we have Sunfire, Moonfire, and Shooting Stars damage increased by 18%. Now, of course, Shooting Stars now does not proc from Stellar Flare anymore. That is something that they changed in 10.1. So Sunfire and Moonfire are proccing Shooting Stars, which is a talent that we always take, and that does 18% more damage, which is, I would say, a pretty big deal, because Sunfire and Moonfire are doing a lot of our damage, especially in certain AoE situations, but also on single targets a significant amount of our damage. And then Shooting Stars also being a decent percentage of our damage in both single target and AoE situations is nice to have an 18% damage increase there. Some people didn't like this change because they're saying that they wanted to move away from being so reliant on our dots, because they were thinking that because they removed Stellar Flare from Shooting Stars and lowered the importance of Stellar Flare, that we generally are less reliant on dots now, but that is not true. Moonkin in Dragonflight is incredibly reliant on dots, not because of Stellar Flare or because of waning, but because of our mastery. The way our mastery works is that it increases our nature damage if you have Sunfire on the target, and increases our arcane damage if we have Moonfire on the target, double dipping for astral damage, of course. It's not double dipping, it's just additive, right? So nature increase plus arcane increase will both affect astral damage. So yeah, our dots, Sunfire and Moonfire, are incredibly important. This whole Stellar Flare change that we had and Waning Twilight has nothing to do with that. It's our mastery that is so important. So no matter if we have this 2 set or not, Sunfire and Moonfire is incredibly important, yeah? So this doesn't necessarily change that. Yes, it makes it even more important, but it was already important without this 2 set, okay? So you shouldn't feel bad about this 2 set at all. It doesn't mean that you have to dot more than you already have to otherwise. right? If you don't like the dots being so important, that's a different kind of story. Then you should be complaining about our mastery or about the eclipse system or whatever. But yeah, this set bonus doesn't necessarily make you dot more by any means. It changes nothing. You do the same as you always did before. Then the 4 set bonus says shooting stars has a 20% chance to instead call down a crashing star, dealing 70% attack power, astral damage to the target, and generating 5 astral power. The damage of crashing star is about 4 times the damage of a shooting star. Shooting stars is this talent that you always pick. In fact, you have to pick it if you want to go the left side. So it says Moonfire and Sunfire damage over time has a chance to call down a falling star, dealing 2000 astral damage and generating 2 astral power. So this is just like this passive astral power generation that we have, plus it does damage as well. And then Solstice is related to shooting stars. So whenever you enter an eclipse, shooting stars fall 200% more often. So what does this mean? So the 2 set bonus makes shooting stars do more damage, plus Sunfire and Moonfire also do more damage. And then the 4 set means that it has a 20% chance every time you proc a shooting star, which again happens passively, then it will instead proc a crashing star, which is basically the same as a shooting star, except it does 4 times the damage of a shooting star. That's it. Okay, so this set bonus does not impact our gameplay whatsoever. We do the exact same thing as we would do without the 4 set, which some people don't like, and I get it. It's a bit boring, right? But I personally think it's okay because we had the first set that impacted our gameplay quite a lot. So I think it's okay. Some people are worried how our class will feel like when it comes to actual gameplay, because we lose the really nice 4 set that we had in season 1, right? The 4 set in season 1 heavily impacted our fun when it came to single target, but also AoE, because you enter Eclipse, you had a free Star Surge, and then you could cast 2 more Star Surges, basically stacking up our Star Lord much quicker. And that's something that people really like the fact that we just got this 1 extra Star Surge out. Now the thing though is that in 10.1, Moonkin got quite a few changes, and some of the changes did affect our astral power generation, just made it more consistent now. So what that means is that instead of getting a free Star Surge or Starfall at the start of our eclipse, which is also astral power generation, right, technically, so instead of getting all of this front-loaded astral power whenever we enter an eclipse, we now have more consistent astral power generation through our fillers. Our fillers give us more astral power. Our dots give us more astral power when we apply them, and then our new set also gives us more astral power when we have it equipped, right? So that means because the crashing star gives us 5 astral power instead of 2 from a normal shooting star. So what this means that our gameplay definitely changes, but it feels a little bit more smooth. So instead of, as I said, instead of getting all of this free astral power as soon as you enter an eclipse, you have the astral power generation be more consistent over time, which in my opinion can feel better. It depends on your playstyle, of course, and how much you're moving, but I do think it feels really nice. Our damage is a lot more consistent. Another really good thing about the set bonus is the fact that it both affects our single target and our AoE damage. Some set bonuses in the past would only affect your single target or would only affect your AoE, and that was always like a little bit of a question mark, but this set bonus affects both single target and AoE. So it's really nice. Before I go into gameplay, I'll show you some numbers. These are like super initial numbers that it was Gas Tank, one of the theory crafters of the Moonkins, that just like quickly spun up these numbers here. So don't take these as like face value or whatever. Like these are just like spun up by one of the theory crafters to give you like somewhat of an idea. These numbers are all assuming the same item level, right? These are just the bonuses. This does not include like the higher item level that we gained from the new set. Also, don't look at the number itself. Like the actual number doesn't matter because I actually don't know what item level he simmed it with, right? So don't look at the number itself, just look at the differences, like percentages. All right, so this is no set at all. Then tier 29 4 set is our current 4 set itself. So just the 4 set, not the 2 set, which I know that's not possible, but just for the sake of numbers, okay? So our 4 set is at 1.31% damage increase, and these are of course with the nerfed numbers because our 4 set is gonna get nerfed with the next patch because it's super overpowered currently and they're nerfing it to make sure that we actually equip the new set. All right, so the new 4 set is 1.31% damage, the new 2 set is 2.59%, and then the combination of both is tier 29. So the combination of 2-set and 4-set is 3.79%. Then the tier 30 2-set is 3.36%, and the tier 34 set alone is 3.55%, and the tier 30 combined is a 7.56% increase from having no set at all, though, right? And then 2 plus 2, that would be 2 set from the current season plus a 2 set from the new season, that would be 5.94. Now, of course, when you look at the percentage here, you have to keep in mind that the real damage increase is between tier 29 and tier 30, right? Because we're not gonna go into the next patch without a tier. We're still gonna have our tier 29 equipped. So that means the difference between this number and this number is what we actually gain from having the new 4-set. Another good thing to note is that this number is better than our tier 29 4-set as well. So that means if you have the same item level on all of your sets, then you would actually unequip the old 4-set to equip the 2-set while also keeping the old 2-set equipped, right? Because you can clearly see that the 2 plus 2 is better than only having the 4-set from previous year. And then, of course, if you get the full 4-set from tier 30, you would equip that. So yeah, the numbers are not like insane. It's not insane damage increases from our new set. It's exactly 7.5% damage increase from no set at all, which is not, great. It's not insane, but I personally think that having less of a damage increase on your tier set is not necessarily a bad thing, because something that I guess a lot of Moonkins experienced in the first season was the fact that if you did not have the 4-set, then you didn't even play a real class. Like, your damage was so underwhelming if you did not have the 4-set, because it was so good for Moonkin that it felt really bad for not having it. And in the end, classes are being balanced around having 4-set, right? Blizzard looks at the numbers that the classes do once you actually have their 4-set. They don't balance the numbers without 4-set, right? They balance all of the numbers around tier. And if your tier is really strong, that doesn't actually help you out. That is actually bad, in my opinion, for your spec, because you get balanced no matter what around having tier. So it doesn't matter if you get 20% damage increase from your tier and the other class only get 2%. That just means that the other class is going to do more baseline damage than you, and you do less baseline damage because your set gives you 20%, right? Because in the end, they balance the final numbers. So in my opinion, having a tier set that is less impactful is not that big of a deal. In fact, it's even better, because then you're not so reliant on it. If you don't instantly get it when the tier comes out, it's not the end of the world, it's not the biggest difference. You can just equip your old tier 29 set and it's not gonna be the end of the world. It's still 4% damage difference, right? You still would gain 4% from the new set, but yeah, it's not like a 20% damage increase like we had before. So I think this is totally fine. Again, this tier set is not going to be super impactful. It's not going to change your playstyle. The numbers are not insane of it either, so it's not super crazy or anything. So yeah, I'll show you a little bit of the gameplay here. I'm running some talents that currently seem to be good talents for single target. Don't take any screenshots or whatever, but this is some of the talents that I think we're going to be playing for more single target fights. Quickly explaining it, they buffed Denizens of the Dream and they buffed Friend of Fae, so that's why I'm picking that one up. Then they buffed Radiant Moonlight, which is now really good for us. They buffed Astral Smolder, they buffed the duration and the damage of it, so I'm picking that one up as well. And they buffed Nature's Balance, but you would have picked it up anyway before. They also buffed Power of Goldrin, but I also would have picked it up before anyway. There's nothing you really have to super play around anymore now, right? We don't have to play around our 2-set, we don't have to play around our 4-set, which we did have to do in Season 1, so that changes, which makes the class actually easier. Then we still play Stellar Flare on single target, but in any kind of AoE scenario, we're probably not going to pick it up anymore because we now have the choice node to play Wild Surges. Wild Surge is actually decent, pretty good on bigger pulls, but also on smaller pulls between, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 targets. This is actually a pretty decent option, I guess, for some AoE situations, even though Stellar Flare is still going to be played as well on single target, and it might also be played on small numbers of targets as well, right? If you can realistically keep up your Stellar Flare on those targets, but I don't know the numbers on it perfectly yet. Don't get shooting stars anymore, of course, for Stellar Flare, so that's not something you have to worry about. We still want to keep up waning, but we're not necessarily going to play mushrooms anymore, possibly on AoE situations. Because they buff Smolder, we can actually keep our waning up with Smolder procs. So we have Sunfire, Moonfire plus the dot from Smolder that's going to be up. So in AoE situations, I don't think mushrooms are going to be that big of a deal anymore. People aren't going to play it anymore. We're not going to play Umbral anymore because they nerfed they nerfed Starfire a decent amount. We also don't have the old 2 set anymore. We don't have to play around Umbral procs anymore, which is also going to make the playstyle a little bit easier. So I'll show you. So single target, of course, you would still apply your Stellar Flare on your dots. You do actually enter Solar Eclipse now if you have Soul of the Forest spec'd, which we will almost always have spec'd, right? If you have Soul of the Forest spec'd and you're fighting a single target mob, you're now entering Solar Eclipse. So we're not going to have this unintuitive gameplay anymore where you enter Lunar Eclipse and then cast Wrath. So we actually enter Solar Eclipse now, and then of course we're going to cast Wraths in Solar Eclipse. If you're going to have more than one target, then you still enter Lunar and you cast Starfire. And yeah, sorry, I'm just going to press my cooldowns here because I have full Pulsar proc. So yeah, stacking our Star Lords is gonna be a little bit slower, but it's still not that slow because our fillers generate more Astral Power and we have more passive Astral Power. So that means, yes, you cannot cast 3 Star Surges back to back, but you can cast 2 Star Surges, Wrath, Star Surge. And then you have your Star Lords stacked as well. And you can see, if you pay attention a little bit to my Astral Power generation here on my Naguura, and you see that we actually generate a decent amount of Astral Power. Of course, I'm in my cooldowns right now. Still a little bit different. But yeah, it's oh, I entered Lunar Eclipse because I was still in the old mindset. Actually, it's fine to enter Lunar Eclipse here because I was about to proc my pulse anyway, so I guess it was the correct play in hindsight, even though I didn't do it on purpose. But yeah, so now I guess we have to get a little bit of muscle memory back to actually enter Solar Eclipse, because that is something that it's actually a little bit harder to enter Solar Eclipse than Lunar Eclipse, because whenever we were playing Lunar Eclipse, we would just cast Wrath in Lunar, so it made it really easy for us to cycle eclipses, right? Because what we ended up doing is like we cast Wrath, continue casting Wrath in Lunar Eclipse, and then Wrath again to enter Lunar Eclipse again. So we basically just casted Wrath, unless we had an Umbra proc. So that was actually pretty easy. But now it's going to be a little bit more complicated when you have to enter Solar Eclipse, because that means you cast Wrath inside Solar Eclipse, but then you have to switch to Starfire to enter Solar Eclipse again. Right? So you just have to pay a little bit more attention to your eclipse cycle, but it's not going to be the biggest deal. Outside of that, on single target, there's nothing that really changes other than you have to do less. Like you can see, there's really not much I'm really paying attention to. I'm playing Rattle right now, so I am. You have to play around Rattle a little bit, but it's actually not that hard to play around Rattle because we have that much more passive generation that is more consistent, right? As I mentioned earlier, we do have more consistent Astral Power generation now, instead of it all being so front-loaded when we enter Eclipse. So that means that that's actually really good for Rattle, because it's easier to keep it up throughout like all of your Eclipse cycle. It's not just easy at the start of your Eclipse, right? Alright, so that was a little bit of single target. I'm not gonna show you AoE, but AoE is going to also be a lot easier. There's not too much you have to worry about anymore. We don't have to worry about 2-piece bonus stacks from the first year. We don't have to worry about Umbral procs. We don't have to worry about mushrooms because we're probably not going to play them. Not 100% sure yet, but if we don't play them, we might not play them. Then we're not going to play Stellar Flare anymore, probably, and then Plus. We're going to play Wild Surges instead. Yeah, all of these things are passive. Denizens is passive. Friend of the Face passive. Orbit Breaker is passive, Power Goldrun passive, Starlord, of course, you still want to stack. But yeah, a lot of these things are just like passive talents now. We're not really picking up many active talents anymore, and we don't have to play around that many things anymore like we did before. So I think the whole spec is going to be a lot more manageable, because a lot of people complained about Moonkin being overly complex in Season 1, which I do understand. So that's going to be better in Season 2. If you were overwhelmed with Moonkin and you thought there's just too much going on and too much to worry about and blah blah blah, then it's gonna be easier for you in season 2. It's gonna be more manageable. You're gonna have a better overview. It's gonna be easier to min-max for you. Astral power is gonna be more consistent rather than front-loaded. Your spenders, your fillers, sorry, your Starfire and your Wrath are gonna give you more astral power. Especially Starfire is giving you more astral power if you hit more targets with it, which is also nice. But they definitely lowered Starfire damage a lot. So Starfire is going to be a proper like generator now, rather than like a big damage portion of our AoE. And yeah, so it's looking good. I personally am looking forward to it. I personally also like the way Moonkin plays in season 1. So I'm a little bit sad that we lose our season 1 playstyle, because I kind of liked having all of these small things to play around and to min-max and whatnot. I kind of liked it. But having a little bit of an easier playstyle and getting a feeling of our talents and our basic rotation without having a tier set impacting us is going to be cool. And I also like that they changed our talents a little bit, so we're not so reliant anymore on some of the talents like we did before. And the fact that we pick up some different talents is also cool to see. So yeah, that's it about tier set and about next patch Moonkin. I hope you guys are looking forward to 10.1 Moonkin as well. Don't be too disappointed about the tier set being passive or not really impactful, because as I said, I think it's okay. We're gonna test our talents the way they are, like the baseline talents, without being like confused or without our rotation changing through the set. I think that's okay. And yeah, our tier set is not insane. That's okay, considering that our first tier set was so insane. We need a little bit of a we need to like step back and look at our actual talents and our baseline rotation a little bit further. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like the stat, you like the changes to Moonkin in 10.1. Let me know what you think in the comments below. You know, let me know if you disagree with me, if you don't like these changes, if you'd rather keep the current playstyle. Let me know what you think. Maybe also go on the PTR and test the class a little bit before you have any sort of like super like radical opinions, because I mean, having an opinion is fine, obviously, like everyone's just entitled to their own opinion. But if you have like a very radical opinion and you're like, I hate this or I love this or whatever, then do make sure that you go on the PTR and test it first, because sometimes after testing something you change your opinion a little bit, right? Because PTR is available for everyone. You can just go to your Blizzard Battle.net launcher, you click down on the menu where it says Dragonflight, and you just go on the PTR 10.1. You can buy the tier set in Orgrimmar and then go to the dummy, test the set a little bit, see what you like, see if you like it, test the new talent system a little bit, and yeah, tell me what you think. Let me know. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any more questions, you can of course answer in the comments below. You can also come over to my stream at twitch.tv/Naguura. And yeah, thanks for watching. Remember to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and I'll see you next time. Bye!